you're not eating for hunger. You're not even eating because the flavors are providing you some sort of pleasure. You're eating for completion. Hello and welcome to another new episode of Emotional Eating Unwrapped. I'm your host, Alana Kessler, and today we're going to talk about the 5 reasons you keep eating past full, even when you quote unquote know better. If you're watching on YouTube, you just saw my air quotes, but this is what we're going to be talking about today because I get so many questions about this from people. I can't tell you how many times I get the question, why can't I stop eating? How do I stop eating past feeling full because of the consequences that happen afterwards? So we're going to talk about it today because there's so much about this that I almost get this question more than I get questions about binging. And I almost find that people have a harder time with eating past full sometimes than they do with binging. And I think because binging has more of a story attached to it, right? Binging is more obvious. It's an episode. It has a beginning. It has an end. It's more dramatic. You know that something happened when you binge. But eating past full, it's different. It's more nuanced. And if you keep doing it, you almost can get to this place with yourself where you can quietly erode the trust you have in yourself because you're like, why do I keep doing this? And it's something that you end up just collecting these small moments of berating yourself and just bullying yourself almost. And like I said, you create this space with yourself that begins to create a lack of trust. Okay, so when we talk about eating past full, I mean that you finish your plate, you know you don't need more because you feel that kind of fullness inside of you, and yet you do still continue to eat. And the thing is that afterwards, and this is really where the issue comes in, is that you're not wondering why you were hungry. Instead, you're berating yourself for why you didn't stop. And today I'm going to talk about the reasons why that happens, because there are reasons why that happens, and a lot of them have nothing to do with the food itself, right? Most of them, the majority of them, don't really have to do with the food itself, and it doesn't have to do with discipline. And it's not even about you so much, like you per se and your person and your character. And so I'm hoping that at the end of the episode, you'll feel a lot more lightness around the situation and some direction for how to move forward when this inevitably happens to you. Because even for me, I still eat past full, and it's really about how you respond to it more than anything else. Okay, so before we dive in, I just want to introduce myself. If you're new to me, my name is Alana Kessler. I'm a registered dietitian. I am also a functional dietitian. I've been in the health and wellness space for over 20 years, and I've done all the things: yoga, mindfulness, like I said, worked in hospitals, all the different things. But my passion is helping people really find love with their body, lose weight, reconnect with themselves in an authentic way, overcome any kind of emotional or addictive behaviors with food, and just really live your best life. So if you are new and you are here, welcome, and we are going to dive right in. So the reason number 1 why we often eat past full is because the sensation of fullness doesn't feel safe yet to you. And this one is a surprise for a lot of people because for many people, stopping at fullness, it doesn't feel grounding. It feels exposed, right? Stopping at fullness doesn't feel like, oh, okay, I'm settled, I'm grounded. It feels more like it's like you're exposed, because when you're full, what happens is the food is gone, right? If you say to yourself, I'm full, that means that the experience of eating and of getting getting the sensation from food is gone, right? The comfort is ending. The moment is over. And if food and eating has been your way to stay regulated, right, has been your way to feel like things make sense for you, like things have a structure for you, stopping when you're full can feel like you're standing in midair. So you keep eating, not because you want more food or because it has anything to do with hunger, but because you're not ready to lose the feeling of the anchoring that the experience of eating the food is giving you. Right? So your body isn't saying, I want more food. Your body is saying, don't take this away from me yet. Don't take this experience of being anchored away from me yet. And this is especially common if food has been your only reliable comfort or your only reliable sense of grounding or anchoring. So eating past full here has nothing to do with your inability to stop eating food, right? Your lack of control. That has nothing to do with this. It's fear of losing your certainty tool, your regulation tool, your feeling of anchoring too soon. Okay, so that's a really important insight and reframe to think about. You've built a good life. From the outside, it looks like you have it all together. You eat clean, you work hard, you take care of everyone, but there's this one area that still feels impossible to master, and that is food. You can eat perfectly all day and still end up in the kitchen at night wondering why you keep doing this. You promise yourself you'll start fresh tomorrow, and I know you mean it every single time. But the cycle, it always finds its way back, especially when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, or when you're just tired of being the one that's holding it all together. And I get it because I lived that way for years. And what I learned is this. The problem, it was never about food. It was the pressure underneath it, the perfectionism, the self-doubt, the part of me that never felt safe and secure to just be me. And that's why I created the sober eating sequence. It's a proven 3-phase method that rewires the emotional patterns and the belief systems driving overeating so you can relax, trust yourself around food, and release weight completely naturally, without force and without obsession. Because when your body feels secure, it lets go. The cravings quiet, the self-punishment, it softens, and food, it stops being the thing that you have to fix. This is not another plan. This isn't another rule book. It's a revolutionary transformation for your nervous system, for your body, and for your identity. So join the sober eating movement today. Another reason why you're eating past full is because you're still eating for the feeling, right? Because there's a moment, usually a few bites past full, where the eating shifts, right? This happened to me so many times. And this happens, in binges. This happens in moments like this, right? Where the taste isn't even good anymore. Right? Your body is actually satisfied. The taste isn't even providing you anything good, but something else is happening instead. Right? You're not eating for hunger. You're not even eating because the flavors are providing you some sort of pleasure. You're eating for completion. Okay? You're eating for completion. You're eating for the ritual. You're eating for the calm. You're eating for the way that chewing, the act of chewing makes you feel like something's happening, right? This is why slowing down doesn't always fix it, because it's not about speed, right? That's the thing. Like, a lot of advice is like mindful eating, take slow bites, but a lot of this has nothing to do with that. right? It's not about the speed of the eating. It's about what the eating is doing for your nervous system. So if food has been your way to stay present, okay, if food has been your way to, um, to stay in, to feel in yourself, to feel like, you're not dissociating, stopping can feel really disorienting. So you keep going, not to get, more fuel, more pleasure, like we talked about, but to avoid the drop off. Ironically, as we all know, once you eat to the point of no return, you dissociate anyway because you get numb and like you're not really in your body anymore anyway. So, that's when we get to eating way past full. But the reason why we do this is because of the initial idea that we want to continue in the behavior so that we could stay present with our lives, because that's what the act of eating is our vehicle for, our vehicle to stay present. So reason number 3 of why we often eat past full is because your body is bracing for scarcity. Okay, and this one is old and deep. Okay, I don't care where you come from. I don't care what your background is. I feel like it's I feel like scarcity mindset is a generational trauma. Okay, we all have it. We all have to heal it. But this one is old and deep. So if you have spent years, right, dieting, restricting, telling yourself I shouldn't eat this, right? If if you have also been around people that had scarcity mindset around food, your body learned something important, right? Your body learned that food might disappear. And this could even be like, you might have seen people, so scarcity can come from dieting and restricting, but can also come from seeing people hoarding food, right? Or like overeating food a lot because of this scarcity mindset that it's not going to be readily available in the future. So when it is available, and so say like, and especially if you compound that with the diet culture mindset where you have restricted or where something felt off limits to you, your body will be like, finish this just in case I never see this again, or it's something that I'm not going to be able to have again. Right. It kind of puts the food on a pedestal. And it doesn't matter, even if you're full, right? And even if in a logical and, more kind of mature mindset, that you can have it again. What's important is that in these moments, knowledge doesn't undo conditioning, right? Knowledge doesn't undo this deep-rooted scarcity mindset. So when you think about yourself at a party or at a buffet, that's why buffets are so hard for a lot of people, because there's this abundance of a lot of food that, either we restrict, we don't eat, or, we feel we have to be really rigid around or really disciplined around. And it's there in like multiples, and the portion sizes are huge, right? You can go back for like thirds, sevenths, tenths. And so it's so crazy, right? And instead of thinking like, wow, there's so much of this, of course it's going to be, like it's an abundance, right? Instead we think like, oh my God, this might be the last time that I'm ever going to see this. And so your body isn't eating past full with these things because you're reckless. It's doing it because it's a survival mechanism, right? Eating past full here is your body saying like, I don't trust that it's safe not to do this yet, right? I don't trust that stopping when I'm full here is safe. I don't think that I'm going to ever be able to have this again, right? There's this deep-rooted belief. So this is a really interesting and important belief system rewire that is really important to do here, because learning to move from scarcity mindset to abundance mindset and realizing that food is always going to be readily available is, is really important, and that you're going to be able to have this again. And, the idea that you need to be, you need to approach it with a mindset of scarcity is not needed. Okay. So reason number 4 is stopping when you're full means that you're going to have to feel what comes next, right? Means that you're going to have to feel what comes next existentially even, right? So for a lot of people, food doesn't just fill the stomach, right? Eating is eating and feeling the sensations of fullness. It's not just about filling the stomach, it fills the space. And so when eating stops, what's left is silence, right? It's why a lot of my clients often say that they'll have dinner and then they'll go, sit on their couch and they'll watch TV and they'll find themselves like going back for a snack. Now that has nothing to do with, and they'll overeat the snack, and that has nothing to do with hunger. That's definitely like, that's definitely eating past full because you just ate, right? So you're definitely full and satiated, but you're going back to eat, 30 minutes after you had dinner because now you're feeling what's coming after the routine of eating, which has been an activity essentially. And in that silence, you will start to feel whatever has been, whatever you have been distracted by during your day, right? Whether that's work, family, responsibilities, eating, right? So you're going to start to feel the loneliness, the sadness, the restlessness, the anxiety, the feeling of being alone with yourself, whatever that brings up for you. So you take another bite, right? You mosey on over to the kitchen, you take out these things, you take out whatever it is for you, the chips, and it can be healthy stuff too, right? So this isn't even just like chips and ice cream and candy. This is like, it could also be quote unquote healthy food, right? We're not talking about good or bad foods here. We're talking about eating past full. This could even be like healthy things, technically, your general healthy stuff. So, but when we talk about the behavior of eating past full, you're sitting with these feelings of what comes after the formal eating experience has come to a close, and you take another bite, you take another. And again, the reason why you're continuing on is because you want to delay your contact with whatever emotion or whatever existential experience is waiting underneath. And so when it comes to eating past full in this context, right, which is often the why do I eat a half hour after I finish dinner on the couch watching TV? This is the reason. And it's not self-sabotage, it's actually self-protection, right? You're protecting yourself from feeling what's coming next. And the last reason is you're expecting awareness to do a job it can't do. And this is one that I think a lot of people don't want to hear. And, I think is challenging because we are such a culture, an information culture, and we think that knowing things means that we're going to change things. And that's just not true. And I've said this a lot. Knowing you're full doesn't automatically mean that you can stop. Right. So in a lot of suggestions and tips for how to navigate eating past full, a lot of it is just, it gets to like, oh, so, feel the sensations, know you're full. And then once you'll stop. But that's just not possible because awareness lives in the mind, but regulation and stopping a behavior lives in the body. You could know you're full and still not feel safe enough to stop for all the reasons we just talked about before. because stopping requires the nervous system regulation, the emotional capacity to be with, the feelings that are going to arise, the trust that maybe we don't have, right? Because of the scarcity mindset, the ability to tolerate uncertainty and the transitions that we've talked about, right? Most people were never taught how to end an experience gently and respectfully, right? You have to just listen to that. A lot of us were never taught how to end an experience that feels complete. Right? Think about it. We're always thinking about the next thing. We're always thinking about what we didn't have. Just think about that. Okay, really think about that. So this isn't a failure thing. This is just a skill building thing. We're missing the skills of how to end experiences respectfully and in service of our highest self-value. So what will actually help in this moment? What actually helps is, instead of asking, why do I keep eating past full? Why can't I stop? Try asking, what is the eating doing for me right now? Right? Is it keeping you calm? Is it keeping you grounded? Is it keeping you present? Is it keeping you protected? Because once you understand the function, you could meet the need instead of fighting the behavior, instead of, judging yourself for the behavior or bullying yourself for the behavior. Okay, because eating past full has nothing to do with willpower. It's really not about willpower. And it's really not always even the biggest problem, right? Like, most of us are going to eat past full sometimes, at least once or twice a month. It's going to happen, right? But eating past full is more about what your body is afraid will happen if you stop eating. Right? And usually it's on a very subconscious belief system level. And so when you approach it with curiosity instead of shame or blame, everything changes. Right? Because the goal isn't, again, like I said, to be perfect. Right? It's learning how to end moments without abandoning yourself, without making yourself get to a place where you feel gross and bad and like at a bottom. And then you have to kind of punish yourself back into being, good again, this swing, this like all or nothing thing. Right? We want to learn how to end moments skillfully without abandoning ourselves. And that's a skill. And it is 100% one that you can build. All right. So thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify. Your ratings and reviews, especially on Apple and Spotify, really help the algorithm find us and push us out to more people who hopefully can benefit from this podcast the same way you are. And if you're interested in a one-on-one session with me for free, I have a monthly giveaway where where if you do that 5-star rating and review and you take a screenshot of that from Apple and you send it to us at BeWellByAK on Instagram, or you email podcast@BeWellByAK.com with that screenshot, you'll be entered in to win the monthly giveaway. And then one more thing, we do a Q&A with our listeners. And I don't know if you heard our last Q&A that we did a couple weeks ago, and it was so amazing. And we have this link in our show notes called SpeakPipe, where you can send us an anonymous voice note. It's completely anonymous with your question, and we will do our best to answer them on our next Q&A podcast. So if you're interested in having your question answered anonymously, that's a great option. So thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I'm Alana, and I will see you in the next one.